What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coach Sean's Kitchen. Today, I'm coming back with another healthy meal prep recipe, and what we're doing is a breakfast skillet. It's full of fresh vegetables, a homemade breakfast sausage, and I'm gonna teach you how to customize this recipe to make it hit your macros. You're not gonna wanna miss it. This is Coach Sean's Kitchen. Now, if you're new to Coach Sean's Kitchen, I wanna say welcome and thank you for stopping by my channel. If you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing and liking videos. It's a second for you, and it means everything for a YouTube creator like me. Now, to kick off our breakfast skillet, we're gonna begin with our potatoes. So here, I've got 22 ounces of red potatoes. And the reason I chose 22 ounces is because with a quick little bit of math, I knew that if I wanted 30 grams of carbs in each one of my meals, that I would need roughly 22 ounces of red potatoes to finish off with. If you need more or less carbs, feel free to adjust the number of potatoes. It's not gonna drastically change the recipe. So once I've got all my potatoes cut up, washed and dried, I'm gonna add in a few herbs and spices. Anytime I'm roasting potatoes in a meal prep, I like to keep it simple. Salt, pepper, some garlic, and then about a tablespoon of whatever herbs I have lying around. I'm gonna put them onto a sheet pan, and they're gonna go into a 400-degree oven for an hour. Now I'm gonna check these potatoes every 20 minutes to flip them and ensure I get a nice crispy outside around all the potatoes. Next, we're gonna turn our attention to our breakfast sausage. And the way I like to do this is I have a go-to breakfast sausage spice mixture that I can add to any meat that I want to rotate through my meal preps. So this week, I've got a pound of ground turkey. And to that, I'm gonna add some sage, thyme, marjoram, some red pepper flakes, some cayenne pepper, and just a dash of cloves. Now, this is what I like in my breakfast sausage, but feel free to customize it to whatever you like in yours. Once I've got all my ingredients added into my sausage, I'm gonna mix it up and I'm gonna set it aside until I need it. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prep my vegetables. So I'm gonna start off with some baby bella mushrooms. I'm just gonna slice them thin. And the next thing I'm gonna do is prep up some asparagus. Here I'm cutting off the root end and then just cutting them into thirds, equal pieces. You guys know the drill. Then I'm gonna prep up a bell pepper, and then all of my vegetables are ready and I'm gonna set them aside until I need them. Now the last thing I'm gonna do is prep my eggs. And today I'm using egg whites. Now if you're like me, egg whites are incredibly unappetizing, you don't like the look of them, and you lament eating them every week. So into my egg whites, I'm gonna add some nutritional yeast. This is gonna give it an amazing, cheesy, umami flavor that's gonna be very similar to if you use egg yolks. In addition to this, I'm gonna add some garlic powder, some onion powder, and then a final optional ingredient, some ground turmeric. Now this is less about the flavor and more so giving eggs that classic yellow, orange, and actually appetizing color that we love to see in our eggs. Now once that's mixed up, I'm gonna head over to the stove and we're gonna start assembling our skillet. So in a large saute pan, I'm gonna add in my breakfast sausage. Once our sausage is thoroughly browned, about 10 minutes of cooking, I'm gonna remove it from the pan and set it aside. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start cooking my vegetables. Now these vegetables are going to cook at different rates. So I'm gonna begin by sauteing my mushrooms and giving them about a 5-minute head start before I add in the rest of my ingredients. So once I've got some good color on the outside of my mushrooms, I'm gonna add in some asparagus and those bell peppers, and I'm gonna keep cooking until all the ingredients are tender, about 10 minutes. Once all our vegetables are done to our liking, I'm gonna reintroduce that breakfast sausage, and I'm gonna heat it and thoroughly mix it into all the vegetables. Then the final thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push all those ingredients to the back of the pan, and I'm gonna cook my eggs in the front. Now once I add my eggs into the pan, I'm gonna continually stir in order to keep those egg whites from burning. Once I see that my egg whites are starting to curdle and begin cooking, I'm gonna kill the heat and I'm gonna start mixing everything together. And this is gonna help me from overcooking my eggs. Now just because the heat is off doesn't mean I'm gonna stop stirring. There's enough heat in this pan to continue to cook those eggs. So keep stirring until they're cooked thoroughly. Once your eggs and vegetables are done, go ahead and set it aside and let's check on our potatoes. As you guys can see, these potatoes came out great. brown and crispy on the outside, and the inside has a nice fluffy texture. Everything I want in a breakfast potato. So since this is a meal prep, let's go ahead and begin plating up. And the way I like to do it is I'll start by putting one potato in each container, and I'll keep going around the circle until I run out of potatoes. I don't worry too much about hitting my exact macros every single day. As long as they average out over the entire week, I'm good. Once my potatoes are added, I'm gonna do the same process with my breakfast skillet. Starting with a scoop in the first container, then the second, third, fourth, and I'll continue to go around the circle until each meal prep container has about the same amount of food inside. Don't over stress about this. You've already done all the hard work. So taking a look at our final product, this meal prep is gorgeous. You've got beautifully crispy potatoes on the side, and then you've got an egg scramble over the top, chock full of vegetables and a homemade breakfast sausage. If I pulled this out of the refrigerator in my break room, I would be the envy of my office. Now, as I had mentioned, you can customize this recipe to hit your macros. If you need more or less carbohydrates, consider altering the amount of potatoes you start with. If you need more or less protein, consider adding more egg whites or even creating a larger batch of breakfast sausage. And finally, if you need more or less fat, you can always add egg yolks in or add more olive oil along as you go. Or if you're trying to watch your fat intake, you can always use nonstick sprays in lieu of all of those cooking oils. If you guys ever have any problems hitting your macros, please let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to talk you through them. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like, please subscribe, and let me know in the comments how I did. I want to thank you guys for watching another episode of Coach Sean's Kitchen, and as always, you can make anything homemade and healthy.